Hey there, Rasche here. I am the district TOR for Pike County School Corporation. So I'm just here to make sure that you guys all have access to some information as we move to getting our buildings compliant with state requirements. So first up is understanding what an English language learner is. Okay, so they are currently called MLLs or multilingual learners. You may hear them referenced as ESL, ELL, EL. Any of these are just equivalents to a student who speaks another language as their native language. There are currently 314 languages spoken in the state of Indiana. So it's really important to not make the assumption that all of our students are Spanish-speaking students. So the common misconception is that you will need to be fluent in their native language in order to help these kiddos, and in fact, you don't. So because they speak multiple different languages, you just have to know how to teach English. So here's our process that we currently have in place. A student is identified as a language learner via something called a home language survey or an HLS. And what that means is a parent brings a child or a guardian brings a student into our school district, and they write down that that student speaks another language. It could be they speak English at school, but they speak Spanish at home. It could be that they speak Vietnamese at school, but they speak English at home. Whatever the language is, there are 3 blanks on a home language survey, and if any one of those blanks are listed anything other than English, then that signals me to run our screening process. And the way that we do that is we run something called a WIDA screener. So we are part of a WIDA consortium, which means that we'll screen students, and if they're fluent in English, then they are not entered into an ESL program. That means that they can learn right alongside their peers. They just happen to be a bilingual student. However, if they score what you guys have heard referenced as a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4, that means they need some additional supports in English to help them access the academic language needed to be successful. So we do that via a WIDA screener, and that is something that I will come to your building. If you're K through 5, I will come and take care of that for you. And if you are in the middle or high school, we have another person designated for that. Okay, so next up is something called the ILP. So an ILP resembles an IEP, however, it is vastly different. So an ILP is a list of all these accommodations that a teacher of service, which I'll explain later, is allowed to put in place to help that student access the academic discourse in their classroom. Now, what that means is there can be 25 accommodations listed on their ILP. You may not need to use any of them. Maybe your student has enough language that they can achieve a lot of things in the classroom, so you don't have to do those things. Some of the scaffolds in place are to maybe, instead of testing them on 25 vocabulary words, you test them on 5. Maybe they are verbally allowed to respond to you because they currently can't read and write, but they can definitely hear and speak to you in English. So those are the common accommodations that we put in place, or pairing them up with a buddy. We must be really careful when we pair students up that are Spanish speaking, as they can come from different countries, and those countries can have some hostility there. So it's really important not to assume that just because they both speak a similar language, the dialects are different in the countries. So we want to just be really careful and conscientious of that. So students who are operating at level 1 or a level 2, best practice is for them to receive a pull-out service in which they are pulled out for 30 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week. If we can get them 25 minutes, 4 or 5 days a week, that's great too. But it's just to give them a language service. And that means that we give them something that helps them achieve the English language. We have a curriculum for that already here in the district. So if we need to access that, you'll just contact me and I'll make sure that you get your hands on that. If they're a level 3 or above, that means that they're accessing our normal social language. So they are learning right alongside their peers, and it is best practice for them to receive all their accommodations within the classroom. Okay, you might hear me say that I am the EL teacher of record. That means that in the Pike County School Corporation, I am currently one of very few, if not the only one, who is licensed as an English language instructor. So because of that, I am the only one who is able to write up our ILPs right now and provide any curriculum instruction assistance. So with that means that we also have teachers of service. These are called TOSs. There is no one better for our language learners than the teacher themselves. Many of you are parents, and when your child was born, they didn't come out understanding English, right? It just took a couple years, and before you know it, you couldn't get them to quiet down, right? So you're a master at teaching kids English, but it does take a while. So as teachers of service, you're going to provide their day-to-day instruction, but you're going to use their ILP to help you do that in a way that you might not be able to do for another one of your students that is not labeled an MLL. I will contact you weekly and just check in, and you can delete the email. You don't even have to look at it, but I'll just pop in and say, hey, anything you need, how are things going? And I'll check in with you on a weekly basis. And don't feel like you have to respond. If you don't need anything, just delete it. So because we are operating in what we call a SIOP model, all right, because we do not have any full-time English language teachers. Remember, I'm an art teacher over at Winslow Elementary, so I do not do ESL full-time. I'm here to help the district meet the needs of these students. So you must receive training in English language instructional strategies. So you would know these as evergreen strategies. These are things that you put in place, like graphic organizers. Those work for everybody, but they are a must for our language learners. So in order to do that, our district has adopted something called the SIOP model. And so each month from here on out, I'm going to show you what each step of that model looks like and how you can apply it to your classroom. And we'll go from there. And if you need any additional support, you'll just contact me.